Hello everyone, welcome to DigiBytes. I am Vaibhav Gupta, your Alteryx expert, and today we are going to discuss about another interesting use case of Alteryx. In this video, we will be creating an analytical app which will be helping you to dynamically change the delimiters which you are using for separating the fields in a text file based on the text file you are selecting. Then why wait? Let's start. So let's see the data that we are going to work on. So we have three different files. All of them are txt files, and we have named them based on the delimiters that we have in the file. So here we have the first comma.txt, and under that we have these fields and their values separated by a comma. Similarly, for another file which is named as dash.txt, we have dash as delimiter in the data set. So we have the same data, but change in the delimiters. So now you must be able to see the familiar screen of Alteryx. Let's drag in a directory tool. So if you see, it has by default took the path where we have saved our files. So this is the path, and here if you see, it's the same path. So from here, it will be pulling all the files that are there. So if I run it now, so it listed all the three files here, comma, dash, and semicolon. So all the three txt files are there. Now what I wanted to do is I want to create a filter. Let's say I put a filter, and let's say I say file name and equals to, by default it will be selecting comma.txt file. So if I run it, it filtered the data of a comma.txt file for me. Now I want to pass this data, especially only the path, to dynamic input so that it can read the data from that particular file. So here we need to select a source template, a basic template. So I will give that file comma.txt as a basic template for it. So I selected as comma.txt, and I will select it as a read it as a fixed width text file. I click on OK. And again, without making any changes, I will click on OK and OK. Now, if I try to run it, it's showcasing an error. Let's see. We forgot to select the file or what changes we want to do here. So here, what I want to retrieve is the full path. And what action I want to do is I want to change the entire path. So every time whatever the path I select from here, it should replace the entire path here. So that's what I want to do. So now if I click it and run it, so now I got the data what I am looking for. But what I want to do is I want them to be separated uh, into different fields with values. So for that, I will drag in the text to column tool. And what I want to do is I want to take field 1, and based on this comma delimiter, I want to separate it into 3 columns. Now we can see that there are 3 columns created, but we still see that the ID, name, and country are coming as rows instead of column names. So for that, what I will do is I will take a dynamic rename tool. So I will drag in the dynamic rename tool, and here what I will do is I will select take field names from the first row of data, and when I run it, you can see in the output now the field names have been taken from the first row, and we can see all the values. Now I do not want this additional column to be there. So for that I will just select the select tool and remove this field ID, name, and country. And this will give me the required data that I want to get in from the file. So if you see here, now I have only the required data. So now what I will do is I will write this data to an output file. Let's say XLSX file, and let me override this output file which was there already. And you can see the timing is 6:05. So I will click save. Yes, I want to replace it and name it as sheet 1 and click on OK. So now I run it. It's giving me an error. So it's saying that sheet 1 is already existing. So because I selected the option create new sheet and sheet was already existing. So in this case, I have to overwrite file or remove it. And if I again run it, so now you can see the workflow has run. And if we go to the folder and see the file has been updated 6:35. So this is the latest file. And you can see we have this data. Now, this is the first part which we want to achieve, where we want to read a file, and with the help of the delimiters, we want to write the output into different fields and export it into the Excel file. Now what I want to do is I want to convert this particular workflow into an analytical app where based on the file that was selected here, I want to uh, ensure that delimiter is changed on the run. So let's say now I have changed the file name to dash. So it will pick up the second file that we had. And if I try to run it now, so if you see at this step, my data has not been separated and the field 5 and 6 are also null. The reason is because we did not change the delimiter here in the text to input tool, and it's still comma. So this is a challenge. If I get different files, right now I have separated based on filter, but if we have an application where we are getting different files and they may have a different delimiter, as a person, you know that in which file which delimiter is there, but you do not want to change it manually every time. So for that, what you need to do is we will now pull in interface tools where I will drag in a text box. And here what I will do is I will write a text that provide delimiter value, and default delimiter I will set it as comma, and now I will drag in the action tool, and here I will connect it with the text box tool. What I want to change is I want to change the value of the delimiter every time I write something in the text box. So now our dash file is going, and if you go back and see in the output, the last time we ran workflow with the dash file, because we did not change the delimiter, we have the data as this. So if I try to separate it, so we have this null values and there is no separation of the fields. So now I again close it and go back to the workflow. And another configuration which we need to take care of is when we are updating this value, we have to click on here replace string. So every time the workflow will run, it will replace this comma as a value that we will be providing with the help of text box. So now I will run it as an analytical app, and you can see it is asking me to provide the delimiter value. I will change the delimiter value to dash as we are giving here as a dash.txt as an input, and I will click on finish. It's asking or saying that it's unable to delete the Excel file because the file has been currently accessed. It's open here, so I will close it and click on OK and try to again run it by clicking on finish. So this time workflow has run in 6.2 seconds and file has been generated. I click on OK and click on exit. And if I go back to the folder, I see the file has been updated. And if I now open the file, you can see the value initially was this, and it has been now changed to this. You can see that this column we have removed in the configuration, but it is showing. The reason why it's showing is if I go back to the workflow and see the select tool, here, now the name of the field has changed. Earlier, we were pulling the file which was comma.txt, and instead of dash in the name, we had comma. So you see here, it's missing. But now we have a new field which is separated by dash. And similarly, if I select the other file, it may be separated by semicolon. So that's why it was not able to deselect this field. So what we can do is we can dynamically rename this field as well using another dynamic rename tool where we will provide a text input providing all the options which this field may have, and the further option that we always replace these values with a name as, let's say, a test, and deselect that field in the select tool. So in this way, this particular field will not appear in our output. So as an our target, we have achieved an analytical app where based on our selection of delimiter in the output, we were able to handle these multiple delimiters which are coming from our different input files. In case if you have any doubts, You can reach out to us via mentioning your doubts in the comment section, or you can even write us on the email mentioned in the description section. In case you have any ideas or any other questions, or you want us to create any other videos, you can let us know. Please keep watching our channel and do subscribe to it and do share with your friends. Thank you.